to the nanny, it looked like I just let this kid walk all over me, right? Like, if
Right.
he hits me or
Yes.
something, I'm just like his little bitch,
Yes.
which I am in a sense. I think all parents are. We are in a sense.
Yeah.
They're the boss.
It's behavior bitches.
Hey guys, it's Liat. Welcome back to Behavior Bitches Podcast. Today, we are getting into a topic that I know so many people will find helpful depending on what stage of life you're in. But you know what? Even if you're not in the specific stage of life that we're talking about, it could be helpful because you might be serving families. So we will be going into that. So before we get into today's episode, we are going to find reinforcement. By we, I mean I am going to read some reinforcement that you guys have left me. And thank you for leaving the reviews. I live for them. Keep putting them in because I need something to keep reading and I need a reason to keep doing this podcast. All right, this review coming in hot from Mrs. Porky. 5 stars, titled Yes, with a lot of S's. Cutthroat and resourceful. Love it. Thank you. I love being described as cutthroat. All right, and we got one other one because they're so short. We're putting another one. This one is from Jaluwu. All right, this is titled Obsessed! Exclamation, exclamation, 5 stars. I love this pod so much, and I love watching Liat grow. Can't wait for this season. Thank you so much. That means a lot. Doing this podcast alone took a lot of transition time to figure out how to keep this going. So that means a lot. Thank you so much. All right. I'm going to keep this to the point and I actually watched an episode back the other day and I realized, holy shit, I do so much talking before getting there. So I am going to use that video of myself to decrease my latency to getting started from the time the episode actually starts. So here we are. I'm going to introduce our guest. Jenna Mazzillo is a board-certified behavior analyst with 14 years experience in education. She's worked as a special education teacher, CSE chairsperson, instructional coach, and district behavior analyst. Jenna specializes in applying behavioral principles in classrooms and home, using evidence-based practices to support all learners. She is passionate about making complex behavioral concepts accessible, providing practical tools that are easy to implement, and helping families and educators achieve meaningful results through consistent, thoughtful approaches. Jenna, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you. And I actually think it's crazy. I realized that I have not done any podcast relating to parenting,
Mm,
that we are 200 something podcasts in, and there has been
yeah.
nothing.
Well, I think that also a lot of the times teachers, I mean, my social media account is really parenting and teaching, but mostly parenting now. But whenever I provide parenting advice, most teachers will write me back and say, like, or behavior analysts, like, oh, I use this with my students or with my kids because it's really the same principles. So,
Right, exactly. And so I guess I am teaching these principles all the time, and I think I'm naturally doing it with my own child, but I don't
mhm.
think to like but after I was watching your videos today and I was like, I should just put my video up sometimes when I'm like I mean, I do sometimes. That's like basically how I teach stuff. But like
Yeah.
sometimes like natural interactions that are like, do you just
Hmm.
have the camera like running all the time?
So good question. I've gotten asked that before. And so what typically happens is I'll try to like record something to show people how to do something. Like let's say how to transition your child or and most of the time like those are like, you know, a good outcome might happen. But there was one instance where I forgot I had surgery last year and I was home for a while. So I had a lot of time to like make content with my toddler. We were at the library and she put a Lego in her mouth and it was how I got her to get it out of her mouth. And I was like, if I was able to do that successfully, I bet other people are probably wondering the same thing. So then like I started also posting when like, okay, she's just told me no, this is what I'm going to do because people are probably wondering that. So I can't like obviously trigger challenging behavior, but those
Nor do you
videos
want to as a parent.
not at all whatsoever. But sometimes like if that happens, then I'll say, "Oh, I'll share that in case it helps somebody else."
It's so true. And the things you were posting, I think sometimes as behavior analysts ourselves, like things that we're doing, we're like, oh yeah, like of course, like this is what you do. And you're not realizing that like this could be such a helpful, simple, like parsimonious explanation of, like, how to do something.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's amazing that you do that.
I love how you weave in all of these vocabulary words
Oh,
into our
I've been
conversation.
studying for the test for the last 9 years.
I love that.
So, yes, by the way, anyone studying, parsimony means, like, the simplest explanation as to why something is happening.
Mhm.
So it
And what I've actually found too about parenting and having my account is that, like, I used to post, like, some very complex, let's say, explanations, but things that come natural to us or behavior analysts or people working in the field, like, things that seem like common sense, like, of course I'm not gonna do like, negotiate, right? Whatever it is. A lot of people don't re Most people don't realize if you don't have experience in this field, like, "Oh, if I tell my child that they have to stop watching TV and they whine, and then I let them keep doing it, they're gonna keep whining." People don't realize, like, it doesn't there's no connection. So I was like, "Oh, it's the very simple things that people might need to learn first."
yeah, it's amazing, like, I was actually watching one of your videos this morning, and I realized, I'm like, "Oh my god, I do that all the time." Like,
Mhm.
I am literally errorless teaching all the time. Like, I am
Yeah.
telling Kobe how to respond to things, like,
Yeah.
"Oh, let's go do this." "Okay, that's cool, mom." Like,
Yeah.
I literally, before I even give him the opportunity, like, for him to copy it.
Yeah.
And, like, all the
Totally.
time. The one thing I what was it? You posted a video and you were telling her to say, like, "Oh, cool." Or
Mhm. Yes, for accepting no, we were working on, like, she would ask for something. Well, so what happened was she was watching, TV one day, and she typically transitions well, my toddler and older daughter, if they're watching a show, like, there's typically no problem transitioning. But we were going through a phase where every time, like, something ended, let's say it was actually during potty training, and that's why this happened, and she was watching, like, more than normal, and a video would end, and she would get upset. And so I was like, "I need a replacement behavior, but I can't really reinforce the absence of not whining." Like, I'm not gonna say, "Great job not whining,"
yeah.
when I shut off the video, Grace. So I had her say, like, "Okay, cool," and I reinforced it with gems at first, like, we have a gem jar, and then that transitioned into sometimes giving the item back, or, sometimes I did it with a cookie in which she might say, like, "May I have another cookie?" I said, "No, you can't have another cookie. You could tell me, 'No problem.'" She'd say, "No problem." I'd wait. "No challenging behavior?" "Oh, you know what? You handled that so well, Grace. You can actually have that cookie."
Yeah, it's happening all the time. So I wanna know, so you have this Instagram, ABA Naturally,
Mhm,
and you have a lot of followers. When did you
mhm.
start this Instagram account?
2 years ago.
You have a lot of followers for 2 years ago. This just shows there's an MO of parents wanting help.
I also, like, I'm insane, so I post, like, I when I started the account, I was posting, like, 3 videos a day. It's, like, the only thing I work on as well, I feel like. It's my passion, it's my hobby, so but, yeah, there's a huge thing. I think a lot of parents are realizing now, like, that there and not that I don't know enough about, like, all the terminology everybody's using for parenting with authoritative and gentle parenting and whatnot, but I think parents are realizing, like, I'm, doing these things with my kids. I'm being really kind to them. I'm validating their emotions, but it's not helping them. And there's nothing wrong with that because I do that sometimes too. But when that's like your only response or that's your only tool, then yeah, you're gonna run into some roadblocks. And so I think people are just looking for some, like, well, what should I do then? You know?
So what do you feel was missing in parenting content that's out there? Because obviously parenting is like a trendy
Hmm.
topic, like, right, there's, I think a lot of people who like Becky, Dr. Becky,
Yes. Yeah.
uh, what's her last name? I spent totally blank. Dr. Becky, but you know
I
who I'm
don't
talking about.
know.
She's, like,
I
very
do.
famous.
Yeah. 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 No, I like her account,
Yeah, I
Dr.
like her
Becky.
stuff.
Yes.
There's a lot of stuff out there, but what do you feel like was missing?
I think one of the biggest things on a lot of parenting accounts is that there's, like, a blanket response to a lot of challenging behavior. Like, when your child hits, you should do this. Whereas in behavior analysis, we know that we never respond to behavior based on what it looks like, the topography. We respond based on why it's happening. And so when you do that and you end up responding based on what it looks like, you usually end up reinforcing a lot of challenging behavior by accident. And so I think that what's missing is people not looking at the behavior based on why it's happening, and then also giving a child a replacement behavior to use instead of that challenging behavior so they could still get their needs met. And something that I realized recently too is when I say replacement behavior, someone messaged me recently because I was talking about a replacement behavior for a child throwing their food in their high chair. And they were like, well, what would be a good replacement behavior for throwing food? Can they throw their, like, I can't really have them throw a ball right now. I can't have them throw something else. And I realized, oh, people think a replacement behavior has to look the same. Like they think that, like, if my child's hitting me, then the replacement would be that they should hit a pillow. But
Exactly. As
so
opposed to, like, redirection or something.
yeah, as opposed to like, well, what's the function of the hitting? Like, are they hitting because they want something? Like, if they don't have a way to tell you what they want, then have them tell you what they want because hitting a pillow is not gonna get them their needs met, you know?
That is
So
so huge. That is so, so huge. And, something and it does take really, in a simple way, explaining, like, the functions of behavior, like the 4
mhm,
functions, or,
yes,
like, at least I think people being like, if it's for attention, getting them another pillow is not gonna help.
no, right. Like teach them to say, "Look at me, mom," or something, or like, "Can we chat?" Or "I know a joke," like something more appropriate than hitting.
You actually also just posted a video, which I loved, and I think this comes up for a lot of parents. I only have 1 child, but for multiple kids, right? And I do
Mhm,
think, I mean, personally, what I see, because I live on the same street as my sister. I have 1 kid, she has 3, right? She has
mhm,
twins and a little girl.
right.
It's all girls. I don't know, I also think girls are louder. There's something, like, at least at this day, like, they're just, like, the shrieking level is, but when there's more kids, it's difficult because, like, let's say you're, like, implementing one intervention, or, like, like, your 1 kid is capable only of, like, a certain level, but now your
Yes,
other kid
yeah,
is looking at what you're doing with kid A.
right. Yes.
So, that is definitely challenging. What would you say about when there's more kids involved?
I spent so much time before my toddler Grace was born with my older daughter Sophia. At the time she was 3, and I used a lot of behavior skills training slash also like the teaching interaction procedure, to take her aside. One is teaching her, like, not just waiting for challenges to occur before I like teach her something, but like actually making like a simulation of a scenario that she might be in, telling her exactly what she modeling it, telling her exactly what she could say, having her practice it. And then the biggest thing was buy-in from her. Like she had a gem jar in which like we very clearly defined like if you're kind, what being kind to Grace looks like sharing whatever it is. Like if she asks you for a toy, you could say, no, you can't have this, but you can have this. I spent a lot of time practicing that because I think sibling rivalry is a really big problem in a lot of people's homes, and you can't control the other child sometimes. Like, and so if you could take the time aside, a lot of people might say, like, oh, I don't have time to do that. I don't have time to do that. I will say, like, the amount of time you're wasting, like putting out fires all the time, or that like you can't leave your kids alone in a room together because you're nervous that they're gonna like kill each other, is you're gonna make up for that time in taking a few times to like go over these things with your child, practice them, pay attention to them when they are behaving well together, when they are doing the right thing, because most sibling rivalry ends with a parent running in a room, providing a ton of attention. What's going on in here? Someone's crying, and then someone's usually yelling, and then they're getting so much attention. And so they keep engaging in that behavior because it produces mom. So,
And I think a huge thing is, I mean, already, like, I'm sure centuries ago, kids were still, like, going after their parents' attention, right? But,
mhm,
like, now, like, in our world, like, I mean, grossly, I could tell you, like, my phone, for example, is like, I'm, like, disgustingly addicted. Uh,
mhm.
my Chat GPT actually called me out today. I asked it to roast me, like, based on what it knows about me, and it was like, "Your screen time is actually sickening." Like, it was, and I was like, they're vying
That's
for your
so
attention, but
funny.
now, like, there's multiple kids, right?
Yes. Mhm.
And so something that you had posted I thought was, like, so true, and I, like, feel like I see this happening in my sister's house all the time, is how your one daughter was always getting hurt.
Yes. Mhm.
Like,
Yes.
suddenly she's always hurt.
Yes. Yeah.
And can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, yeah. So I realized that I was like hanging out with my toddler Grace, or there was like a week. a couple of weeks where like my older daughter was going through a little bit of a rough phase where like she was just not having the best week in school. Someone was being unkind to her and she was definitely like seeking love, like more love. And I give it so freely and so proactively and honest. Actually, that's something I did want to touch upon eventually, but she like wasn't she didn't have a way to ask for it. And so whenever those 2 weeks or so, whenever I was with my toddler, I was busy around my house or she just came home and didn't have the best day, she would get hurt. And it was like the simplest thing. Like she would stub her toe and it was the end of the world. And she just like, Mom, she was so upset. And I realized that I was like, Sophia, I was like, every time you get hurt, I noticed that she's like a mini behavior analyst. So when I call her out on it as well, she like knows exactly. She's like, oh, you got me. But so I was like, are you like really just wanting to be with me right now? And she said yes. And I was like, you can always have my love. I will always give it to you. But sometimes I'm busy and I might not realize that that's what you want. So if you say, like, Mom, can I have some love right now? Will you sit with me? Whatever it is, I would be happy to. But I don't know that, if I'm putting laundry away. And then I had her say it. And then she started saying it.
Yeah, it's actually it's really amazing some of those simple things. Like sometimes I'll be like, you know, like I'll see there's times where it's like, especially, I mean, we also have these like like these extraneous variables that are going on. Like, let's say the child is tired and like
Mm-hmm.
everything is wrong. Like it start crying over everything,
Yeah.
you
Setting
know?
events.
Yes, exactly. And saying something like I'm like, he'll just start crying or like, like I work a lot. So like if the nanny's with him or
Mm-hmm.
something, you know, and I'm like,
Yeah.
you could say, I need a hug,
Right.
right?
Right.
I
Yeah.
need a hug. You don't like,
Yes.
you know, and I'm
Yeah.
happy to give you a hug. But I think
Yes.
it's actually something really interesting is sometimes that like it's so easy as a parent to get like annoyed. Like when you're already frustrated, right, at these
Mm-hmm.
things, you're like, dude,
Yes.
but
Yes.
realizing sometimes it's an actual skill deficit, right? It's
Yes.
like they're really not knowing what to do with these emotions or these feelings or like whatever it is. And so it's like seems so simple to be like, you could say like, I need a hug or
Right. Right.
I'm sad,
Mm-hmm.
right? Even teaching
Yeah.
like tacting of these emotions, it's like
Yes.
it's things that, you know, aren't just there. Like they actually have to be taught.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest reasons parents get so frustrated also is because just we assume that our kids have reached a certain age that they should know better or like how many times have I told you to do this or whatever it is. And all of like our kids are in the process of learning. They're not going to there's a lot of things they're not going to know, but when you let your kids know your expectations proactively instead of assuming that they should know what to do, like that just makes the world of a difference. Like when you can just be very specific about what it is, like don't give too many at once, don't wait for problem behavior, like let them know beforehand. I think that really helps parents because a lot of the times, what actually ends up getting our attention, there's nothing more valuable than our attention as parents, but it's like because our kids are learning and sometimes they don't know any better, those inconsequential behaviors that are like kind of annoying are the ones that get a lot of attention from us because it's negative reinforcement for us. We see like when we attend to it or we yell or we threaten, whatever it is, it stops in the moment for us. It feels good for us. But then to our kids, it's positive reinforcement. Like
Right.
more really, and because it doesn't end up stopping. It comes right back. And so when we only focus on those inconsequential behaviors that like just annoying that don't even deserve any attention, like that's I think a lot of the times why our kids keep engaging in it
Right.
because they see like, "Oh, this produces a lot of mom."
That was actually because I asked you, like when we did our like pre-interview, I was like, could you give me five, uh, you know, like key strategies that you'd see based on like what people are, putting in your DMs or what you're posting about? And that was one of yours, right? Like,
Yes.
like ignore those inconsequential behaviors. And I think that's so important in terms of like, is it worth the argument? Like,
Right.
I mean, and that's
Yes.
one thing I always say, and, and I say it because also so I'm a single mom, and so my partner essentially
Yeah.
is the nanny, right? Like, in
Right,
different
right.
things, because like, we're working together on different
Yeah.
things, and I'll say, "That one," and in the beginning, when I was like, and I realized I'd be like I'd ignore things or, like, it was, like, a little
Yeah,
hit or
yeah.
something that he, like, caught himself and I ignored it. It wasn't, like, a full thing. It was, like,
Yeah.
he threw the toy not nicely, like, when he put it down,
Yeah.
And, like, I could either be like, "Hey, that's not how we put down toys," but, like,
Right.
in that
Right.
situation, is it worth it? And, like,
Right.
there was a lot of, like and I realized that, like, I was doing a behavior analyst thing of ignoring those, right? Like, I was like,
Right.
"That's not worth it. I'm not, like, ready
Yeah.
to fight that one out." Like, you put the toy down,
Yeah.
whatever, but I'm more worried about bath time we're about to get into, which she doesn't like,
Right.
you know?
Right. Yes. Yeah.
And so, I realized that I was ignoring it, but to the nanny, it looked like I just let this kid walk all over me, right? Like, if
Right.
he hits me or
Yes.
something, I'm just like
Yes.
I'm like
Yeah.
his little bitch,
Yes.
which I am in a sense. I think all parents are. We are in a sense.
Yeah.
They're the boss.
Yes.
Um, but it really is those inconsequential things where I'm like, "That one's not worth it."
Yeah. I think also, like, a lot of people will say to me, doesn't like, if you don't say anything, though, doesn't that mean they're getting away with it? How will they know that they're not supposed to do that if you don't tell them they're not supposed to do that? And my argument is always, well, have you told them that they're not supposed to do it? Yes. Okay. Did it work? No. They know that they're not supposed to do that. And it depends on what the function of it is. If it is for attention, their challenging behavior, and you respond by telling them not to do that,
It worked for them.
attention is attention. Doesn't matter if it's positive or negative for our kids. So yeah, it worked for them. And that just essentially fed that behavior what it wanted. It doesn't matter. So, and by not providing the attention for that, you're actually, but the behavior is not getting what it wants. So that is my answer. When you use a function based approach to parenting, then you're going to be a lot more successful in creating lasting behavior change as opposed to these blanket responses that maybe stop the behavior in the moment, but it keeps coming back.
This brings me to the default parenting and I think classroom that people use is ignoring.
Mm.
It is important to ignore these inconsequential behaviors, but what would you say about people being like, "Just ignore.
Oh
Just
my gosh.
ignore."
That's the other thing. Like, there's like, this isn't black and white. And so, like, I feel like there is such a gray area in this that you really like need to, as a behavior analyst, also like be skilled in this to understand, like, obviously we always, the term we always say, oh, don't ignore the child, ignore the behavior. But like, you can still like not provide. I don't like using the word ignore. I'll say don't reinforce the challenging behavior, because you might still need to, like, for example, the other day my toddler like put a wrapper in her mouth because she wanted my attention. I'm not going to ignore that, like, but I'm not also going to provide it with a ton of attention. But I just do as little talking as possible. I minimize my eye contact. I don't give her high quality attention, but I did have to say, like, spit it out in a very neutral tone of voice. So I wasn't ignoring her, but I wasn't, like, I think, do as little as possible for those inappropriate behaviors. And then I hate that word ignore, though, because sometimes people will message me saying, I'm ignoring the behavior, but it's not working. And I think to myself, am I providing like the wrong, am I not saying this right? Like, is it like, I want to make sure like I can get through to people, because you know, I never use the word ignore, but I'll say, don't mean, I don't know.
No,
I'm
no,
just,
I totally hear it because also it's, people are like, "Ignore," and I think that's, like, what's said, like, outside of ABA in general too, right? But it's
yes.
like
Yeah.
ignoring the behavior may only work if the function is attention, but if someone
Yes.
is doing something to escape, right?
Right.
You're like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I need you to throw your plate in the trash or eat your
Right.
food,"
Right.
and you're like and they're doing something like, like they're throwing stuff to escape, and you're like,
Right.
"I'm just gonna ignore it."
Yep. Yeah.
That's not really helping the situation. In fact, it's, like, amazing. They're escaping, they're not even having your
Yes.
demand.
Totally.
So
Yep. Or like, it's time to leave the park. I'm going to ignore that right now. Like, they run away, but they just got to leave the park. They got to stay.
exactly.
So,
When you talk about this rapper, I'm thinking what happened with Kobe yesterday. Like, I had my sister's little girl over, so they're, like, a year apart. They hang out a lot,
mhm.
and I guess my sister's little girl, that's my niece, Kobe's best friend. I'm, like, putting in context. It's Friday. It's been a long week, And so it was, like, to get him in the bath is, like, a whole thing every time, like,
Yeah.
So, like, they wanna take a shower. We're gonna play in the shower. It's like a splash park. It's gonna be so
Yeah.
fun, blah, blah, blah.
Love it.
But then Remy, the my niece, gets in first, whatever, and she's playing with car wash toy.
Yeah.
So then Kobe's, like, annoyed that she's playing with his toy, but, like, she was listening and getting in. So
Yeah.
then he finds a marker on the table, and he starts drawing on, like, the folded towels of laundry.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm like, it's gonna I could tell. He's already like it's like in the afternoon, he's tired, it's gonna be a thing. So I'm
Mhm.
like, "Hey, like, let's shut the marker because I really wanna go play this thing. So we could go outside
Yeah.
and play this thing," right? It
Yeah.
was like, I'm not giving it that much attention. Right now, I could be like, "What the hell are you doing? Like, when have we ever
Right, right,
drawn
right.
markers on towels, like, that are
Yes.
clearly folded? Where'd you
Yes.
get this from?" You know?
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that I just, like I think I naturally do, but it's obviously, like, the behavior analyst in me that I'm just like,
Sure.
right now, it's gonna be if I otherwise, if I don't do it like this, like, give it the minimal attention, like, "Hey, let's close it so I could."
Yeah.
He's
Totally.
going to lean in harder and then wanna draw on the table on top of it,
Right,
and,
right.
like, you know? And
Yeah.
it's crazy how sometimes those simple, like, manipulations you do could
Yes.
get them out of it, as
Yeah.
opposed to drawing attention to it, which really you'd be like I think, like, the typical thing would be like, "No, this kid needs to go in their room." Like, what like, they just drew on the
Right.
towels?
Right. Or yell at them or say, "Don't do
Exactly.
that." Yeah.
Totally.
And sometimes I actually have a video of using markers because we went to my mom lives on Long Island, and we went to her house, and, like, if my kids draw on my floor, like, I don't really care as much, but if my daughter accidentally draws on my mom's floor, like, that's not a floor that I wanna mess up. So I was before she started coloring on the paper, my toddler, she didn't have, like, a history of drawing on the floor, but I just let her know, like, clearly before, like, "We're gonna draw on the paper. Where are we gonna draw? On the paper." Like, I just went over it with her, had her show me. I reinforced her while she was doing it. And then I also let her know ahead of time too, like, if you draw on the floor, sometimes it depends. Like, and I think if you're a parent listening to this, be careful because you don't want to also, this could be reinforcing.
Like,
But if you
give them
could
the
say,
idea?
yeah, but if you could say it very neutrally, like, I always follow through with what I'm going to say I'm going to do, so it's fine. But I say, like, if you color on the floor, the markers are going to go away. Like, so letting my kids know beforehand what's going to happen if that happens also saves, I think, parents from a lot of distress because then they're not implementing a consequence when they're already, like, upset and hot, and then they come in like, "You drew on the floor, like, you should have known better." Well, maybe they didn't, like, don't assume. So if you let them know what's gonna happen beforehand, but in a way doing it that it again, it doesn't, like, give them any ideas and you're a little bit more neutral about it and provide so much more attention for doing the right thing, then that's also, I think, like, very effective.
So, that was one of your tips that you wrote here. You
Which
wrote
one? What was
reinforcing
it?
the ordinary.
Oh, yes.
Let's
Yes.
talk about that.
Yes. So I think that, like, a lot of times those everyday mundane behaviors that our kids engage in that we expect them to, just because we said so, we as parents tend to overlook because, well, like, well, they just should do that. Like, why shouldn't they do that? Like, but then the behaviors that, like we spoke about before, that end up getting all of our attention are the challenging behaviors. And since our attention is so powerful, our kids just end up engaging in the behaviors that receive it the most. But when you stop and take a look at, like, your child throughout the day, 95% of the day they're, like, probably doing the right thing, but it's like that 5% that they're not, that's where we, like, shower them with our attention. And so if you could shift that to the proactively to those things, then that's what you'll see more of. Like, last night, I actually caught myself. We have story time before bedtime, and I asked my older daughter to take out the pillows and the blankets that they like to sit on when we read. And then I had to go do something, and I came back, and she only took out the pillows. And the first thing I, like, am always, like, talking in my head, like, about what I'm doing. So the first thing I said was, like, I was like, "Oh, Sophia, what about the blankets?" And then as soon as it came out of my mouth, I realized I didn't even, she did take out the pillow though. She just made a mistake. Like, I should have just said, "Thanks for taking out the pillow. Like, can you take out the blanket as well?" Like, our immediately default is often to go to that. But why didn't you do that? You didn't do that. So
I
I,
think also as a mom, like, you are like, I sometimes wonder, I'm like, to be inside a mom's brain is like and I also, like, now that I'm a mom as a BCBA, I also was a BCBA when I wasn't a mom, and I'm like, "Holy shit," like, some stuff I told people to do was so annoying because now I realize the amount of other things in their head. Like, you're always doing supply chain. Like, do
yeah,
we still have diapers? Do we have this? Did I order this? Is he gonna have this for his
yeah,
lunch tomorrow? You get pissed, "Oh, shit, the teacher asked me to send this with him to the class."
hmm,
So, like, in your head, it's like that was one of the tasks that you needed done, right? You're like, "I
right,
said take
right,
the pillows in the bed." So, like,
yeah,
coming off, it's like like a behavior chain interruption, like because you were
right,
already, like,
right,
ready to, like, be on the next step, like, we're reading
right,
books now,
right,
right?
right,
So, like, to
yeah,
be able to stop yourself in that moment and be like, "Oh, thank you so much for doing that. Can we also" as opposed to being like,
hmm,
"I said all of it."
right. And then what we always say as a behavior analyst, like the rat is always right. So if Sophia, my older daughter, made a mistake
That's a
in taking out the pillows, well, then maybe my instructions were not like, does she need to say it back to me? Like, should I have in that moment maybe had her, should I had like, should I have confirmed, like, what are you going to take out? Because is forgetful
I
sometimes.
do
Like,
that all day. I'm like, "What are
yeah,
we gonna do? Good. Whose house are we going to? That's right.
right. Yeah.
That's okay, good." And, like, 'cause you're always trying to, like, preempt what's gonna happen also.
hmm Yeah, and I think that like once like, as behavior analysts, like our students are always in the right if something isn't going well, like we have to fix something. And I think that as parents, like once you realize that, that's very liberating because if you're I just posted about this I think yesterday maybe, but like if when you recognize that you're the problem, then you also become the solution. But when you blame everything on your child, well, you're kind of leaving it up to them to hope that things get better. So I think
That
that's
is a gold line, what you just said.
oh, thank you.
It's Behavior Bitches.
Hey, Behavior Bitches listeners, I just wanted to remind you, in case you're looking at how to study for the BCBA or BCABA exam, at Study Notes ABA, we have the entire collective to help you pass the freaking test. If you like what you hear here over on Behavior Bitches, trust me, it's better at Study Notes ABA. We take you from start point to end point of everything you need to know for the test. We take the notes with you over 12 weeks. We also have video bundles if that doesn't work for you. Our next collective is starting July 7th. Now, if you're watching this later on and this is no longer relevant with July 7th, we are always starting new collectives. And now you might notice that we have some new names because all of our collectives include the pairing pack and the ultimate collective notebook. All things to make your note-taking and studying fun. Head on over to studynotesaba.com and we have it all there waiting for you to pass the freaking test. All of our collective packages have had a glow up, as you may notice. They have more mocks in them, more content, more activities, all things you're gonna want. And now you can get $50 off if you use coupon code BITCHES. That's BITCHES. Head on over to studynotesaba.com. It's time to pass the effing test.
Everything you're saying is I mean, it's funny. I really, like, sit here and I'm like I'm not actively tacting these things that I'm doing. And
Yeah.
when you say them out loud, it's like, of course. Like, I realize that I am running a dialogue with Kobe all day. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Alright, so when we get home, we're gonna get in the bath. We're gonna get straight in the bath when we get home, and
Yep.
we're gonna get a bath bomb, and we're gonna see what toy we get inside. Alright, what are we
Right.
doing when we get home?
Right.
Good, that's right." I mean,
Yeah.
still, does it always go smoothly? No. We get home, and, like, his thing is this. So, sometimes when it's your own kid, it's like everything you know is out the window.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, for a while, like, the bath was just like I mean, to get him in and then to get him out, It was like he's pissed
Yeah.
off both ways.
Yes,
And
it's like
so
the pigeon needs a bath
yeah,
book.
I was like so Isabella, my friend who's a BCBA, I was like, "Dude, like, help me out here. I'm just like I'm tired. I'm"
Yeah.
She was like, "The timer." So the timer worked
Mhm.
great, right? He likes,
Yeah.
like especially when Alexa tells him, like, because 'cause I'll be like, "Alexa, tell Kobe bath time in 4 minutes."
Right, right.
So but now it's like it's everything has to have a timer, like, just 4 minutes, just 4
Right, right.
minutes, just 4 minutes. I'm like, "Okay, we're gonna do this in 5 minutes." He's like, "Just 4 minutes." And I'm like,
Mm.
shame he doesn't get it that, like, he's actually, giving himself less time doing the fun thing,
These
but I'm
things.
saying sometimes they don't work. So, like,
Oh,
oftentimes, like, the 4-minute thing is like, "No, I don't," like, like, "Just 4
yeah.
minutes." "No, 4 minutes." And then it's like, "Actually, I don't even wanna follow that anymore. I just don't wanna go," you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
And so, like, just keeping it real for anyone listening,
Yeah.
we say these strategies, but I promise you there's times that we're doing it and it's like, "All right."
Sure. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there's times where I'm like, "This is not worth the fight," and before it gets escalated, before I reinforce the behavior at, like, a higher magnitude, I'm
Yes.
putting him to bed. Like, even if we
Yeah.
didn't brush our teeth that night, I'm like, it's not like I, first of all, don't have it in me to follow through, and, like, the it really is I do think something important is, as a parent making these decisions, like, am I willing to follow through with it before I make this
Right.
demand?
Yes. Yeah, and giving yourself I think parents, like, get so hard really beat themselves up is something I find, like, people will message me like, "I made a mistake," or I accidentally did this tonight." I'm like, "Okay, well, it's over." I'm also, like, more of, like, a I was raised with tough love, like a lot of love, but like it was like, well, let's move on. You know what I mean? Like it's no big deal. So it's like I would say the same thing to a parent. Like you're entitled to make a mistake, and that's fine. But sitting at home thinking about it isn't going to do anything. And what will change your course right now is if you can just move on and then do better next time. That's it. That's all you could do. Like why are you beating yourself up? You're human. You're
Right.
not perfect. It's okay. So
Give yourself some grace.
yes, totally. I mean, I guess this kind of goes into like reinforcing the ordinary, but I also like one of the things I talk about are attention superpowers. If you want me to
Yeah, tell
talk
me. I
about
wanna
that.
I wanna hear about it. I actually have this written here. I'm telling you, by Friday afternoon, my brain has slowly trickled out by the end of the week. Monday, I started off strong. So, tell me
I
about
mean,
attention
real.
superpowers
Well,
and
I
how
mean,
we could use them.
yes. So I think one of the things we spoke about already, but is that how parents don't realize how valuable their attention is, and our kids will engage in whatever behaviors get it, whatever receives it the most. And so when we are paying attention to like those challenging behaviors, that's what's going to increase. But a few things, if you can use your attention proactively, number one, as you know, like that will decrease the value of trying to get it for inappropriate behavior because our kids will, I'm going to throw in some behavior analysis jargon right now, but they'll get satiated on it because,
Satiated. I was gonna say, we're talking about motivating operations,
yeah.
everyone. It seems like an abolishing operation when we're doing these things antecedently.
Yes, like, so, like, when you can give it to them proactively, when you don't want it as badly anymore. Like, when I'm deprived of having pizza all week because I save it for Fridays, let's say, like, I'm like on Friday comes around, I'm like, "Give me that pizza." But if I have pizza all week and I, like, cheat, then when Friday comes around, I don't really care about it as much. So, number 1 is, like, giving your child, like, your attention proactively, and that could be it doesn't even have to be, like, all day long because I understand parents are busy, but, like, if you could take 20 minutes out of your day where, like, you're not looking at your phone and you are simply just playing with your child and pairing your voice with pleasant experiences, because all day long we're just like throwing demand after demand after demand at them. But if you can like just narrate what they're doing, comment on it, like don't ask them questions about it because that's a demand. Like just play with them and just, have fun with them. And then also in those everyday interactions you might be having, like if you're just driving in the car somewhere, like those 5 minutes you could get in like chit chatting are huge. And something that I found that I caught myself on, or sometimes my child would say, like, tell me something. And do you ever have one of those moments where you're like, I have no idea what she just said to me, but you're responding, you're like, uh huh, yep, uh huh. Cause like we're in like autopilot, we're just saying
Yes.
yes, 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 yep, yes, like, yes, Sophia, sure. And I'm like, wait, what did she say? So part of like the attention superpowers, I will say, is like actually listening to what your child is saying, processing it, and then like coming up with like maybe a follow-up question for them, like to show you were listening and like interested in what they were talking about. Like if I don't know, Sophia's telling me about like Gabby's dollhouse, like, oh, that's the cat that likes to go in the ocean or whatever. I might,
PJ, catnip.
yeah, I might have said like, cool. But then I might like now, or like, but wasn't really listening to her. Like I was just like, uh-huh. But now I'm like, oh wow, like do any of the other cats like to go in the ocean? Like I'll just try to like,
Totally.
I'm listening.
That
So
that is so true, and what we call this in ABA, studiers, I'm sure you guys already, because you had said some of the words, and in the regular world, we use the word proactively, which you were using, which I love that, by the way, like, you break it down for, like, the average person to listen to as opposed to, you know, coming in just with the ABA jargon, which
thank you.
does not really reach people on the outside. Um,
Yes.
you're using antecedent interventions, right,
Mhm.
beforehand, before the behavior even needs to get anywhere, and non-contingent reinforcement, right? You're
Yes.
giving that attention, like, freely in conversations before any behavior happens. I'm playing with you with your toys, what you wanna play. You don't
Yes.
need to engage in this behavior to get it, and
Right.
non-contingent reinforcement is so valuable and such a like, a secret, underrated tool of, like,
Yeah.
"I'm giving this to you for free." No need
Right.
to have that entire meltdown, break
Yep.
everything, hurt yourself on the way. I'm just giving you the
Yeah.
attention for free.
Yep. And I think that too, like once you start doing that proactively and then your child does engage in challenging behavior and you might have to withdraw some of that attention, there's such a clear distinction between like this is my mom when like she's like my mom is not happy right now, but you don't have to show you're not happy, but you're not the typical like bubbly proactive attention. So like it's very clear like you're not getting any of that right now. So it just makes it more clear for our child that, that's not going that behavior does not produce that good high quality attention. So, yeah.
Totally. And one thing I just, yesterday, so I take Adderall every day. I have like since 4th grade.
Yeah.
And I mean, I really struggle with paying attention
Mhm.
but I know my intensity level is higher. So yesterday I decided like, I have like an autoimmune disease which like I do get like really tired. Sometimes my body just needs a rest or I literally end up in the
Yeah.
hospital. And I was
I'm
like, I'm not
sorry.
going to take my meds today and I'm just going to be home. Like I don't remember the last time I've like sat and like
Right.
the TV and just like sat and like I don't do that. Like I always have to be like
Right.
productive and
Yes.
he came home from school yesterday and he was like, "Mom, what are you doing?" 'Cause I'm, like, sitting on the couch. I was like, "I'm sitting on the couch watching something." He's like, "What? What the heck?" And I was like it was like a check-in for myself of, like, you know, I feel like I am present in his life, definitely, but I was like, "Whoa," like, for him to see that
Yes.
and to be like, "What the
Right,
heck?"
right. You're
It
not
it's
like you're
showing
not
it's
active
showing that,
right
like,
now?
yes, like, he expected me to be working still, you know?
Yeah. Mhm.
And, I just think, like, having these regular check-ins and being like, "Oh," and I really think something valuable potentially for a parent could also be, like, if you're someone who runs on, like, Google Calendars and reminders and using Alexa reminders, like, literally planning, like, a fixed time or, like, schedule of, like, I'm gonna provide reinforcement at this time every day.
Sure.
Like,
Yes.
no matter what they're up to, I'm just gonna, like I'm gonna hang.
Yes.
Because I
Yes.
think it is so easy to be, like, caught up in the other things that you need to take care of.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, like, I get home pretty late as well, and when I come home, like, my mind immediately goes to, like, these are the things I need to do, and then I do some of that, or I might do it, and then, like, I'll realize, like, well, I only have a few hours with them, and, like, I haven't, like, just sat with them, and that's what I need to do right now, and it's not that long you have to do it because I think also parents might think, like, "I can't do this all day." You don't have to do it all day. It's more about like the quality when you are doing it. Like the quantity doesn't matter. The time doesn't like the amount of time isn't as important when you're really dedicated and giving it high quality attention and you're not multitasking and you're not looking at your phone. You don't have to do it for that long. If you could just give a big dose of it, like that's good.
Totally, it is the quality of the reinforcer, not the quantity, I would agree.
Yes. Yeah.
Alright. Now, leaving off, I want to ask you what advice so a lot of BCBAs listen to this or people training to be BCBAs who maybe RBTs who are working with parents,
Mhm.
right? Whether they are parents or they're not parents yet. What advice would you give the average BCBA struggling with parent training?
Oh, I think it's so easy to hear a parent's expectation hear what a parent wants and immediately be like, "Are they serious right now?" Or, like, shut down. But I like, until you become a parent yourself, I feel like you don't really understand where they're coming from. Like, everybody just wants what's best for their child, so trying to put that yourself in their shoes, I will say that, like, have a little bit of sympathy for them or empathy, like, are these parents could be with kids that have very challenging behavior all day long. So like when you're like, oh, they didn't implement what I asked them to, like first come at it that with sympathy, but then also look at it with, well, why? What do I need to change about the way I'm teaching them? Maybe that they can't. Like, did I provide them with too many recommendations? Like, maybe give them one thing to do, let them feel the effects of reinforcement from that, create that buy-in, and then they will be more willing to try something else. But when you come in there like using all of this behavior jargon, like these are all the things you have to do, judgmental, like I think that's, parents are going to shut down. So try to listen to what they say, like come to a common ground and take baby steps.
Totally. I would agree with that. I told you I like cringe thinking of the BCBA I was before I had a kid versus now.
Yeah. Yes. Same.
I'd be like,
Yeah.
how are they not potty trained? I mean, we went through all the steps. Like my
Right.
son just turned 4 on Monday and he's still not potty trained. I'm like, dude, at
Yeah.
like everything. I'm talking like every reinforce. I'm like, okay, we're gonna work for this, blah blah blah. It's like, these things. And if I was
Yeah.
watching it on the outside, I'd be like, especially like the parent on the outside, I'd be like, come on,
Yeah.
he's 4 years old. You have a typically developing child here. Like, well, how is he not potty trained? You know?
Yeah.
And
And a
it's
lot of the I mean, all the parents BCBAs are probably working with are probably not neurotypical.
that's
And
what I'm
so,
saying.
like,
So I'm like, oh, come on. And so, but now I'm like, I am that parent. I'm the one teaching everyone about behavior, but like, just like being understanding that like
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
when you have like a 2-hour session to go in and like, be that and whatever it is. But like when you're a parent, you're like tired. You're like,
Yes.
okay, I'm about to travel with them. Do I really feel like them using the bathroom on the plane? I think a diaper might be
Right.
better, you know?
Yeah. And I think actually you just made me think of one more thing also, like explaining the why behind things to parents, I think is helpful instead of like just telling them what to do. I think explaining like why this is beneficial. Like, let's say you want, you're trying to increase a child's language repertoire, and you're trying to talk to a parent about the importance of manding or requesting, but this parent wants them to maybe like learn how to tact, let's say, or like answer questions.
Yeah.
But explaining to parents that like the mand or the request, don't use the word mand with a parent, first of all, but like when our kids are learning to ask for something, that is, I'm going to say this behavior analytically, but like that's the only verbal operant. But I would say that's the only type of language in which it benefits our kids. And so that would be the most beneficial for them to learn how to speak that way, because they're going to get what they want. They're learning, oh, I ask for a truck, I get a truck. And so, like, I might explain the why to the parent as opposed to, well, if I just say, what's this? And they say truck, that they're just going to say, we're going to say good job. Like, it doesn't really benefit them. Or, there's, or like developmentally, like what they need to know how to do first. Like, if a parent's like, well, I want my child to add, but maybe the child's not really, doesn't have that much language yet. Like, I've been in every situation you could think of, like it's happened. I was like, well, there's a lot of language involved in adding. Like, what if we work on this? Do you know
I've
what I
literally
mean?
had the same thing. It's like, I want my kid to be doing Kumon. I
Yeah.
was like, we need to get your kid using the bathroom, like, at
Except we
14.
know.
Yeah, or, like yeah, exactly, or, like, feeding
Yeah.
themselves, you
Yes.
know?
Yeah, and so I think, like, explaining the what, like, the why behind things is also, and then parents, I think, feel like they're more part of the process too when they understand.
And buy-in and, like, explaining, like with that, explaining what's gonna happen and expectation like, I mean, for example, when you're telling a parent to put something on extinction and you don't tell them what's gonna happen first, they're like, "This shit
Yeah.
doesn't work."
Right. Right. Yep. Yeah. And then they have to be willing to also, like, that's a whole nother podcast
That's a whole
episode.
'nother podcast, and then there's another one on, like, getting, like, both parents on the same page,
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah.
which is well, where can everyone find you? This was so helpful. I love following your videos. I want everyone else to know where they could find you.
Thank you. So I am on Instagram, Twitter. No, I'm not on Twitter. Sorry. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, what's the TikTok and YouTube, and my handle is ABA Naturally. And I also have a parenting course that I was going to give your listeners 10% a
I would
discount,
love that.
10%
Tell
off.
them,
Yeah,
and we'll
so
put it
if
in the
you
show notes.
perfect. So if you enter the code, I'll make it. Should I make it behavior bitches? Is that
Bitches.
what is
Bitches is our usual code.
just bitches? Okay, I'm going to make it bitches, and it will give you guys 10% off.
And we'll put where you could find the course. I think it's gonna be very helpful for people. You'll get 10% off. Use coupon code bitches. I love
Yes,
the coupon code being bitches. It's just like funny. Yeah. All right. Well, Jenna, thank you so much for doing this on a Friday afternoon. I appreciate it.
of course. Thank you for having me.
I feel like there's so many other like directions we could go and like do future podcasts
Yes,
on different areas. This was just
I
like a
would
very
love that.
general one. This is like first we're
Yeah.
even getting into parenting. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah. If the listeners have any, if they come in with any suggestions, like let us know and we could do another one.
Absolutely. You guys let us know what you want. I always say, and that leads me perfectly too. You know where to find us. You could find us on our website, behaviorbitches.com. And there you could ask what topics you want. You could reach out to us if there's specific questions you have or guests. Please, please reach out to us there. You could find us on Instagram at Behavior Bitches Podcast, TikTok at Behavior Bitches Podcast, YouTube at Behavior Bitches, and please at Behavior Bitches Podcast. And please press subscribe on YouTube. We really are trying to grow this. And I actually have to get myself dressed for the podcast for YouTube. So please make it worth it. I have to get myself dressed and do my makeup every day. And today, if you are watching this or listening to it, you're going to want to watch it on YouTube because I spray tanned right before the episode. So I'm slowly getting greener and greener as the show goes on. So you're going to have to watch to see that.
All right.
Anyways, that's all we have for you today. And as always, love ya. Mean it.
It's behavior, bitches.